Om Shanti, good morning. There is a saying that there is magic in the Murli, and this is also coming from the path of bhakti, and there is an opera by Mozart called The Magic Flute. So what is the magic of the Murli? Think about that while we are listening. So this is January 11th, and the essence is sweet children become nightingales of knowledge. Have you heard nightingale singing? In the summertime in England, when I used to go to the center, right at the very beginning, there was always a nightingale which would sing all the way. I was walking along the road because they sing at night. Night means not dark night, but early morning, very early morning when it's still dark. And it's enchanting, beautiful song. So become nightingales of knowledge and serve others. Study and teach and make others like yourselves. Ask your heart, is the pilgrimage of my remembrance going well? Is it accurate? Is it as it should be? And the question, with which special effort can you change from a beggar to a prince? And that is, in order to change from a beggar to a prince, keep the line of your intellect clear. A clear line is a reference to the telephone. And in Baba's days, when the only kind of communication was telegram or telephone or letter. And there was usually some interference in the telephone line, or you couldn't really hear properly. So if your communication with Shiv Baba is right, then you pick up what he is sending. That is the vibrations, the purification, the right thoughts. Remember no one except the one Father. Remember means do not send your attention to someone in the thought that they might support you, because they won't, or they can't, or whatever. But remember, one Father means this is the one who is your only support. Even this body is not mine. Means don't rely on your body. Only those who make such effort to die while alive. To die while alive means you're not expecting support from people, places, or objects. So those who make that effort to die while alive are beggars. Only they are in the Vanparast Avastha. Vanparast Avastha is a stage of retirement, but that means that you are preparing for your death. It doesn't mean you stop to work. Because in your intellect, you remember that now you have to return back to the home with the Father and then go to the world of happiness. Om Shanti. You sweetest children know what you must pay greater attention to in your study. That is the definition of a deity, complete with all virtues, 16 celestial degrees complete, completely viceless, Maryada Purushottam. So Maryada means the boundaries, and Purushottam is the highest being. And Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, the highest dharma of non-violence. So check to see whether you have these qualifications, because you must pay attention to what you are in the process of becoming. And how will you become that? By studying and also teaching. How much do you remember the unlimited Father throughout the day? And how much do you teach others? As yet, no one has become complete. It is number-wise according to the efforts that you make. The Father has his eye on every child, noting what each one is doing. What service is the child doing? What spiritual service is the child doing? How many people's fortune is he making the highest level? Each one knows your own stage and your own happiness. Happiness means that your own positive karma, which is creating benefit. Each one of you can feel that your life is one of super sensuous joy. That is, your happiness does not come from people, places, or things, but from your understanding. You children have faith that it is by having the remembrance of the Father alone that you will transform from Tamo Pradhan to Sato Pradhan. The easy method is to apply the pilgrimage of remembrance. So ask your heart, is my pilgrimage of remembrance advancing? It's a change of consciousness. Do I make others like myself? Have I become a nightingale of knowledge? You Brahmins imbibe divine virtues, and you are changing from ordinary mortals into deities. You are the only ones who are going to become deities. You are the only ones who become members of the deity clan. It is your deity family there. And you know that you are now making a lot of effort to become those of the deity family. You children have to study in a disciplined way. Do not be absent for a single day. Even if you are ill and in bed, you can still have the remembrance of Shiv Baba in your understanding. Stay focused on Shiv Baba. The soul knows I am a child of Baba, and Baba is here to take me home. This is a very simple focus of attention. And this practice is also needed. Let there be the remembrance of Baba alone in your intellect. That means focus your attention on Baba alone. Baba has come, and we are now going to the world of peace and then to the world of happiness. Make so much effort until the end so that ultimately you remember only one Shiv Baba. So in this, the most useful thing is disillusionment. As long as you still think something is going to be there for you, there's still deviation in your focus of attention. But when there's complete disillusionment, then there can also be complete remembrance. So disillusionment is very, very important phenomenon and experience and reality, which happens slowly. You get disillusioned by one thing after another, until finally there are no more illusions. So disillusionment is the same thing as being free from Maya, which is interesting. And Maya is often said to be illusion. So break away from everyone else and connect yourself to the one. This doesn't involve chanting any words from your mouth, but teach others in such a way as to make them like yourself. The Father explains, you must reach that Sato Pradhan stage again, with which you came down here. So we have to return back to our original condition. You must return to that condition, and then you can go to the golden age in that stage. So your original state, your eternal state, and your final state, all these are the same state. It is so simple. It's not easy by any means, but it is simple, clear. You used to sing on the path of devotion, when you come, I will break away from everyone else and connect myself to you. And this does require effort. Effort means that you do things for yourself. Purusharat. Purush is yourself. Arat is for yourself. The matter of purity is the main thing. So stay at home with your family like a lotus. A lotus is above the water, above the earth. So these are symbolic. The earth means people, and the water means your subconscious. So there are things in your subconscious which make you attached. And there are things in your conscious, the earth, which make you attached. So we have to be above and beyond the subconscious and the conscious. So you living lotuses are also above the earth. So you must make a promise that while practicing purity, I will remember you alone, so that at the end, I remember no one else but you. Let there be no defects. Defects, character defects, are reactions to circumstances. So if you're independent of circumstances, then there wouldn't be any reactions and therefore no character defects getting performed. So children who become like that remain constantly cheerful. Cheerful because you get it, that everything is okay, no matter what. Practice this very well. You children know that your stage sometimes wilts. And Maya makes some of you like the touch me not plant. So it makes you reactive. It is necessary for each of you to ask yourself, to what extent do I stay in remembrance of the Father and remain cheerful? How much time do I give for doing Baba's service? That means investing in Baba's task. No matter what someone is like, continue to do service. So you may be doing service with people who you don't get along with, but it doesn't matter. Baba looks to see who is worthy, competent in claiming the inheritance. A scorpion can understand if something is hard like a stone or soft. A scorpion will sting and it will touch, it'll try different things and it will stick it to who's soft. So this is an analogy that if somebody is not open to God, don't bother. But find out someone's soft spot, a soft spot for God, and sting them there. And because then they will feel it. So a scorpion would never sting a stone. This is your business, and to find those who have a soft spot for God. You are students of the Unlimited Father, aren't you? And a lot depends, everything depends on your study. In the early days of Brahma Kumaris, the daughters couldn't be without a Murli for even a day. They were intensely desiring this Murli. So there were many women and girls who were locked up, and the parents and the families didn't want them to get the Murli because the Murli made them powerful. And so they would find all kinds of ways to get the Murli to people through the laundry, through the pipes, through all sorts of ways. And so then the old sisters in the class sang this song, which the song is, "There is magic in your Murli." So they wanted the magic. So think about what's the magic that makes you completely independent of oppression. So just see how they used to send the Murlis to those who were in bondage. They find all kinds of tricks to get it to them. There is magic in the Murli alone. Which magic? It is the magic to become the masters of the world. There is no greater magic than this. At that time, you valued the Murli so much. In those days, the Murlis were handwritten. So they would have maybe 4 or 5 pages with carbon paper in between, and they would write it. And so it was very difficult to get a copy because there were so few copies. Now it's unlimited. You used to make so much effort to send the Murli to someone, and you used to think that what would happen to this child if they were not able to study the Murli. Baba knows there are many children who do not pay full attention to the Murli. The Murli refreshes you children. What would God, the teacher, say if you are not interested in listening to the Murli of God, who makes you into the masters of the world? Baba is astonished. As you move forward, many children experience such storms of Maya that they stop studying the Murli and they stop coming to class. So if you don't like the knowledge, it means you don't like Baba. And if you don't like Baba, it means you don't like the sovereignty of the world. Maya brings you all the way down. She kills, not she, it kills your intellect so that you don't understand anything. Why they want Maya to be a she. It's an it. There's no woman running around trying to disturb you. So Maya kills your intellect so that you don't understand anything. In bhakti, there is personification of these things, but not in Gyan. Although people do a lot of devotion, it is with absolutely blind faith, which makes them completely senseless. The Father himself says, you were so worthy, that is, so accomplished, so competent, so wise, and you have now become unworthy, incapable. So I have now come once again to make you children worthy, layak. Like, it really means competent. Therefore, you definitely must follow his Shrimat. The Father says, you don't need to do anything else. Just simply remember the Father and study. In school, children study and they remember their teacher. And education is also about character development. Your aim and objective is in front of you, Lakshmi and Narayan. So you must become like them. It is because of their good character that people would sing about them all day long, that you are full of all virtues. Until someone receives the introduction to the Father, they are in the darkness of ignorance. And the people of the whole world are orphans at this time. They're not connected in relationship with the Father. You have to enable the Father's message to reach them all. You are the children of the unlimited Father. And the Father says, stay in my remembrance and your negative karma will be neutralized. You children have to find a way by which you can get the message to reach everyone. And what is the message? The message is, remember the one Father and you will become pure. And this will reach everyone through the newspapers. Newspapers now means any kind of social media, internet, anything. That's the way to communicate. In those days, it was just the newspaper. There wasn't even TV. Do you remember when TV started?
Growing up in our house, there was no TV.
No, but this TV started in the 50s. And it was only for a few hours a day. And it always used to, whenever you turn off the TV, there was a white dot. It's nice. So use the media to reach people. All souls were initially pure, but now they are all impure. So impure means old and dysfunctional. There cannot be any pure souls here. Very important to know that, because sometimes you find somebody who you think is a pure soul and you get impressed with them. This will be your Maya. This will deceive you. So when souls do become pure, they must leave their old costumes, their old bodies. It is not possible that a soul becomes pure and the body stays impure. So once you become pure, you can't stay in an impure body. You'll leave it. By remembering the Father, you make yourself Sato Pradhan from Tamo Pradhan. So all this practice of Raj Yoga results in separation of soul and body. When you first came down on the earth, you were pure, and now you have to become pure to that level once again. Your souls will become pure, and you will go back to the soul world, and then you will go to the pure world, the golden age. The souls return to the region of peace, silence, and then they will go to the palaces of a womb. There is no sign, no trace of sorrow, hardship, pain over there. And there is no kingdom of Ravan there. But you must make effort to claim a high status, and this study is for that. Everyone will go to heaven, but you must make effort for a high status. The more you're independent, the higher the status, because a king, it depends on no one and nothing. You know that heaven is being established and hell is to be destroyed. When Shivalay doesn't mean a temple of Shiva, but it means the golden age, then Vaishalay, the world of hell, where everyone is getting assaulted, will be destroyed. So you must go to Shivalay, the world established by Shiva. Shiva doesn't establish temples for himself. That people do that in the Copper Age. So some will leave their bodies and become princes and princesses. Some will be among the subjects. Those whose line of the intellect, that means focus of attention, is completely one directional, and who remember no one but the Father, are said to be complete beggars. Do not even remember your body. That is to say, be dead while you are alive. Now we have to return to our unlimited home. We had forgotten our home, and so the Father now reminds us of it. The Father explains to you, sweetest children, that you are in Vanparast Avastha, preparing for your death. At this time, it is the state of retirement for all of you, and I have come to take all of you children back to the place beyond sound. So Vanparast means beyond sound. And nirvana means beyond sound, even beyond the sound of a thought or a feeling or an experience. You experience nothing in nirvana. All devotees perform devotion in order to go into Vanparast, so this state of silence. The Father now explains to you how you can go into beyond sound, into nirvana. They do not know the meaning of this expression, but they have just heard it. Although they have been making a lot of effort through their physical gurus from the Copper Age onwards, none of them can return back to the home. The Father says, now it is your stage of retirement. You're preparing for death, everyone, young and old. Yours is the true Vanparast Avastha, because you have to return home. Have you given up everything, everyone, everywhere? Still alive? The unlimited Father has come to take everyone back home. You children should stay very happy. You know that only the Father takes everyone to the sweet silence home, because souls now need peace. There cannot be peace, stillness, silence here. Only the one Baba is the master of the region of peace. And only when the master comes can he take everyone back home. They do devotion in order to return to nirvana, but no one says they want to go to the world of happiness. Baba says, I promise you, children, I will take all of you back to the soul world if you follow my Srimad. That means you will go back to the soul world without any trouble. And even if some do not go to the world of happiness, the golden age, I will definitely take them to the world of silence. I will not leave anyone behind. If you do not come back with me, then there will be punishment, you will get beatings, and then I will take you back. So it's all about following the process of purification, because if you don't, then you have to get purified by punishment. So just like in families, the parents punish their children, I will also take you children back that way, because that is the role in drama. So therefore, it is much better if you come with me having earned your income. So you have to finish your debts and earn your income. You will also receive a good status. What happiness could be received by those who come at the end? Baba says, whether you want it or not, all bodies will be burned in the fire, and all souls will definitely be taken home. If you follow my directions and become completely virtuous, 16 celestial degrees complete, etc., then you will claim a high status. You have called out to me to take you back home. That means you have requested your death. All of you know that death is about to come, and no unclean souls will remain here. The Father says, I will definitely take everyone away from this unclean world, and those who study well will go to the world of happiness. And the world of happiness or heaven is not somewhere up in the sky. The Dilvara temple is your memorial. So Adi Dev is there. Bap and Dada are there. Baba enters this one's body. And you know that both Bap and Dada are sitting there. So you may have seen the images in Dilvara temple. One of them is, most of them are white. One of them is black. And they've got these large diamonds in their hearts. And then there are also a lot of statues of military, the elephant riders, the horse riders, and the people standing. The symbol of you children who are studying Raj Yoga at this time is shown in the temple. So you can see those who are mounted on elephants and the horse riders. And every cycle, an identical temple will be built, which you can go and see. How do you get an identical repetition of the physical objects in the cycle? Have you thought about that? Well, most people think it's not possible. So how is it possible? So you can think about that, because it is possible. Always remember that there is no possibility of any perception anywhere except in your mind. Once you understand that, the identical repetition is very clear.
Even if it is different, you'll see that.
Anyway, it won't be different.
Yeah.
It'll be because it's inside. There isn't anything outside. That's so difficult for people to understand. If you watch a movie, I'll give you another movie to watch, Ready Player One, which is a Steven Spielberg movie, and it's somewhere around on the internet. And it shows you how everyone is living in these two realities. So one reality is just the world, but the other reality is in these, what do you call these things? There's a word for it. There's the virtual reality masks, and now they made them. Augmented reality and virtual reality. But the virtual reality, so it's all inside the machinery and you just experience that 3D different reality. So this is what Baba is telling us that. And so watch that movie and you will understand how everything is inside. And then you have to deal with that. So you say all of that will be destroyed. So how could it be built again? Baba says, don't think about that. It's a bit too complicated for most people. But now because of all these things like this particular movie, which was made a long time ago, I think. So Baba actually gets people to do things that's necessary for him to help him explain to us. And that's a very good one. So anyway, don't think about that. Heaven does not exist at this time. So according to time, whatever has to be there will come out. So this whole thing is a pre-recorded three-dimensional movie, and we enter it using these costumes called bodies, and we go in and out of them for 5,000 years, and then the whole thing starts again. It's a very good story. You wouldn't want to miss any of it. Come at the beginning. The beginning is good. The end is very good. Scary, but good. So cycle after cycle, an identical temple will be built, which you can go and see. You say all of that will be destroyed, so how could it be built again? Don't think about that. Heaven doesn't exist now, but there will then be palaces in heaven. All the mountains will break up and then be created again. There's another thing that anybody from LA can go and look at, and it's a thing called Universal Studios. And they have something there where they show how in the movies the set is burned up. And so it burns up, and then for the next group it comes back and then it burns up again. And so it shows you these things. So all the mountains will break up and then be created again. Now, because of climate change, they're finding all sorts of things. Gigantic dinosaur fossils and things are coming out. And it also indicates that they all got sort of buried very quickly. So Abu will then be created again. You know that Abu is entirely made of granite, which is igneous rocks and made of fire, right? Igneous means it's made of fire. In Abu, there's a lot of marble, right? So it's a very volcanic area. And so when you have a lot of heavy duty volcanic activity, I'm not sure exactly how granite is made, but it's by fire. So they call it igneous rocks. And some other kind of sedimentary rocks made by just stuff landing and getting squashed. It takes slowly, but the igneous rocks, like the Alps, they were made very, very fast. They're very new mountains. And you can find some some stuff where they show how certain circumstances, you can create a large mountain in 10 minutes, that kind of circumstance. I can't remember the details now. It's a long time ago when I checked it out. So Abu will be created again. Many children are very confused about this aspect. The father says there's no need to be confused. It is said that Dwarka went beneath the sea and it will emerge again. So this is an ancient belief. And now anything that's gone down below is gone. It would be destroyed. It won't come back in that condition. You know that you will build your palaces in heaven. There, everything will be completely new and sato pradhan, but you'll build it the same way because it's in you, in your sanskaras, to do that way. There, everything will be completely new and sato pradhan. You go there in trance and you see the fruits in that palace, etc., and you know that you are going to go there. So one of the interesting aspects of visions is that you can't have a vision of something that you didn't actually experience. So it's all inside your soul, all the 5,000 years of experiences, which is quite a lot of data, but it's all there in the chip of your soul. So visions means that you can go to another time. But he keeps the secret of that in his hands. Otherwise, everybody would be busy somewhere else in some other time. So you, depending on your condition of consciousness, you can go to the past or the future or whatever. But he says, be here now, be in the present. But we can go everywhere by spinning the cycle, everywhere and every when. World history and geography repeat, which means heaven will also repeat. Let there be this faith. But if it isn't in someone's fortune, he would ask, how is it possible for all those people to come again in order for the palaces, etc., to be built again? So everything will be there. People looted the Somnath temple, and still people build more temples. This play, sometimes you think it's a theater play, but it's a movie. It's a 3-dimensional movie. So this is the movie of becoming a worshipper from being worthy of worship, and then becoming worthy of worship from being a worshipper. So worship worthy to worshipper, worshipper to worship worthy. There is the cycle of Brahmin, deity, warrior, merchant, Shudra. So we go through all that. You children become multi-million times fortunate. Each step of yours is imprinted with multi-millions. And you know that you have multi-millions in every step, and that is multi-millions are merged in every step of your study. The more you study, the higher the status you will claim. Satyug is the golden age, and the land there is so beautiful. So many beautiful palaces are built. Everything there is Sato Pradhan, and your eyes become cool when you see them. When you see ugliness, that's one thing. When you see that kind of beauty, serene beauty, you are becoming the masters of such a kingdom, so you should make such good effort. So your effort of study is the effort to change your perception. That's it. Just change your perception. Something that looks real isn't, something that looks not real is. Change your perception. Only when effort is made is there a reward. You children have knowledge in your intellect. This is a very, very complicated stuff because you have to have the philosophy of karma as well as change your perception. This is not at all easy Raj Yoga. You're walking on a tightrope, but you have to go to another dimension. That's why it's called a pilgrimage. Are you getting there? Another dimension where you have a different perception of what reality is. Even though your perception through sense perception gives you an impression that something's real, but it isn't. And what seems not real is. And it's interesting in the scriptures, they say the Pandavs' city was built by Maya. And Maya was a very good architect. So all this is Maya. And it's not what it seems. I think that's a very good expression for you to think about. Nothing is as it seems. So remember the Father and end all attachment to worldly relationships. Simply remember the one Father. So the key is we have to let go of everything and everyone, including the body, including the sense perception, and hold steady knowing what is real. Acha. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, Bap Dada, and the spiritual father says namaste to the spiritual children. The spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual father. And the essence for dharna, stay in the remembrance of the father and remain constantly cheerful. Everything may look really bad, but it's not real, so enjoy. Never wilt. Definitely listen to or read a Murli even if you're ill. Secondly, accumulate multi-millions at every step in this study and break away from everyone else and connect yourself to the one Father. Because he's on a different dimension. And the way to get to that dimension is focus. And the way to have focus is spin. How do you make a very, very small hole? You know the dentist, he makes a small hole in your tooth, right? He has to go round and round with a drill. Anyway, the blessing is, may you always follow Father Brahma in your thoughts and actions and become close and equal to him. Father Brahma achieves success in every task with his determined thoughts. So the only thing that makes anything happen is thought. And thought is very, very subtle and very slippery. So there's a deep connection between nothing is what it seems and go to a different dimension and use thought to make things happen. So he demonstrated belonging to the one Father and none other practically. He never became disheartened, depressed. He was always victorious with the lesson of nothing new. He changed a situation as big as the Himalayas into a piece of cotton wool, and he found a way. He was never afraid. Constantly keep a big heart in the same way. Be happy. Follow Brahma Baba in every step, and you will become close and equal to him. And the slogan is, in order to experience supersensuous joy, become a true Gopika of Gopi Vallabh, the father of the gopis. So it's all about transferring from the apparent to the real, from the physical to the real, Not so easy, because you have to switch consciousness. Okay, experience the stage of being merged in love. To the extent that you are merged in the unlimited attainments, accordingly, you will stay beyond limited attractions and experience yourself to be merged in God's love. Your stage of being merged in love will spread the fragrance of spirituality in the atmosphere. So atmosphere is also important, because all these feelings that people have is like atmosphere. All this COVID stuff is very much to do with atmosphere, because it's putting people into much stress. You have to be this, you can't be that, you can't go here, you have to go there, and this and that. Lots and lots and lots of restrictions. But it's practice, a lot of very good practice for being independent of these efforts to make you feel more stressed than you actually have to be. And think about this magic, because it is only the Murli which contains the concepts that come from the mind of God, who's already independent of the sense perception. So you have to really think about him, that he's got inside his mind, his soul, the sanskaras of knowledge. So he's got the entire creation in his intelligence. And he tells it to us so that we can have it in our intelligence, which means that it supersedes the intelligence that we get from sense perception. Because sense perception, the first sense perception is you are a girl or a boy, and you are this color or that color, and you are this nationality or that nationality, and you are this culture, this religion, blah, 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 all these things. And he says, no, you're not. That's your, what they call in the film Ready Player One, I think they call it an avatar, right? And so an avatar is just like you adopt a persona and you interact with other people through these personas, none of which is real, but it's all illusion. And that film really shows this concept really well. And I think that Shiv Baba uses the film industry very effectively to enable us to comprehend about multi-dimensional reality. And then you see nowadays everything is special effects, and you put on these masks and everything becomes something else. And we're so used to it, right? And what do you get in the movies? All the five vices, right? In any movie, you got to fall in love with somebody. You got to have lots of car chases and fights. You've got to have tension. You've got to have, I don't know, all the various things which grip you and cause a lot of adrenaline to happen, right? And then you have to see if you can be completely independent of it. Because all the way through, you know that it's not real, but you pay good money to get disturbed, right? So use this to help yourself get through all the things that are happening on this three-dimensional real movie where there is the karma philosophy going on, and you have to use firm, determined thought, and only take your support only from one, otherwise you will be deceived. So, and it's all about getting a prize. So in Ready Player One, they have to get 3 prizes, right? Have you seen it? You have to arrive and understand what the game is. And the game is, don't try to win. Because you will only get something if you don't desire it. If you desire it, you won't get it. If you avoid it, it will happen to you. And if you avoid your fears, they will happen to you. If you renounce what you want, you'll get it. It's all inside out and upside down and backwards, but it's quite complicated. Yes, but very interesting. Okay, there's a question. What is service for someone who has a regular job and family? If someone asks me about what is a BK, I give them a brief description and then direct them to your YouTube because you explain it very well. Why does the Murli say for everyone to be explaining to others? What he wants is for people to understand what's going on. And whether you're in a family, doing a job, in a center, or it doesn't matter what your context is, but you encounter other people. And when you encounter another person, that person doesn't know what you know. And you must try to find a good way to enter into a conversation where you can say something that is meaningful to them. And in today's Murli, we had the example of the scorpion. And the scorpion is all the time looking for soft spot. And if you can find a person's soft spot for God and sting them there, then you will have done service. Because service is to serve the soul. And what is the problem for a soul? The soul is under an illusion about reality. And being under the illusion, not knowing the philosophy of karma, they do action based on illusions, which causes more and more loss, difficulty, pain, upset, etc. So we have to understand this knowledge so well that we can touch a person's soul so that they get it, so that they see it. And that is what he wants us to do. And then there's the big machinery of the yagya. And that means, it was decided, okay, you have to have this yagya. And a yagya is a ritual where you have a big fire and you put all the things into that fire because it's about purification. And you have the scriptures and the mantras and the Brahmins and all these things that is done in bhakti. But the origin of it is this. This is called the Rajaswaha Ashwamegha Vinashi Rudra Gyan Gita Gyan Yagya, something like that. And so we have to give up our bodies. And we have to give up our delusions and illusions. And we have to be able to perceive what's real and then go to God. And somehow we have to communicate that to other people in such a way that it's meaningful to them. And because of, if you just say it like this, it may or may not be meaningful to someone. But if you find their soft spot, what they believe, what they want, what they think, and then from there you can elaborate because you have their attention if you find their soft spot. And so you have to be a good scorpion. one of the astrological signs is Scorpio. And Scorpio, I don't know all of it, but one of the aspects of Scorpio is that you can touch the subconscious. And so if you can feel the hidden parts of another person, which may be their soft spot for God, then you can make contact with that, because people have a lot of barriers because they don't want to be invaded in their most subtle, sensitive, deep parts, but you have to be able to get there to find their soft spot for God. And that service, I think. As Sukanya is saying, explaining it to others is explaining it to ourselves, and that's true. Because when you talk to another person, they will maybe ask you about things that you haven't thought about, and they will put you in a situation where you have to review the information for yourself. So that is definitely there, because the clarity keeps escaping from us. There's another question. What is the deeper meaning of multi-millions in each step? So it's a saying. It's like an aphorism, a deep belief in India. Kadam kadam me padam. So kadam is a step, and padam is multi-millions. And padam is also a lotus. And a lotus has lots of petals. So when you take a step according to the philosophy of karma, you're doing pure karma. And so pure karma in Baba's Shrimat means that every time you do one, the result of it is multi-millions. And if you do one mistake, the result is also one multi-millions for one. But the essential meaning of it is be very, very careful what you do, because you know too much. So don't forget, and make sure that you do the right thing at every step, because there's a huge gain. And if you don't get it right, there's a huge loss, which you then have to recover from. There's another question. If nothing is as it seems, what is real? I, the soul, and my Baba. Well, I, the soul, is real. My Baba is real. And the cycle. I think what he's telling us is we have to try to perceive reality as the totality of the cycle, knowing the past, present, and future, knowing the three worlds, knowing all the things, and not just look at reality as it comes moment by moment and thinking that's the whole thing. Isn't an avatar a divine messenger that has come to earth to reveal God? Well, the word avatar, as used in Indian scriptures, refers to the incarnation of God. And it's not actually a divine messenger, but the way the Hinduism describes avatars, they also say that these people like Jesus Christ, Ram, Krishna, etc., these are all incarnations of God, which they're actually not. So he clarifies that there's only one avatar, and that's Shiv Baba coming into the body of Brahma Baba. So avatar means to take birth. And there's another expression which is called Shakti Avatar. And so when Baba talks to us as Shiv Shaktis, it is this, that you have to be the incarnation of the Shakti of Shiva. So you have to be like a conduit or a vessel completely empty, and the power of Shiva comes through you and is kind of transmitted. And so that's the Shakti Avatar. But this idea of 10 avatars or 24 avatars, and the idea of all these founders of religions being avatars is, according to Baba, incorrect. But in Ready Player One, they use the word avatar for the format that you have created for yourself to meet other people in. But go watch the movie and you will see. Please say more about True Gopika of Gopi Vallabh. There is a set of scriptures called the Bhagavad, and which is not the same as the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad is all the stories of Krishna. And so this is the story of Krishna and all the nymphs and swains. They're called nymphs and swains, the cowgirls and cowboys who are the little simple people who fall in love with Krishna because Krishna likes cows. And so the people, the shepherdesses or the cowgirls and cowboys of India are these gops and gopis. It means they're in love with Krishna. And so he is Vallabh. Vallabh is another name for Krishna, and Gopi Vallabh, the one who is loved by the gopis. Oh, there's another one. What is reality? Deep subject. We'll continue to discuss that endlessly. Okay, stay with this. I am real, you are real, it is real, Baba is real, but none of it is to be taken too seriously, but pay attention. Do this right. Not to worry. Keep your sense of humor. That's very important. What does Baba mean by punishment and beating at the end? What he says is you have a lot of karmic debt, which takes the form of pressure and which forces you to repeat such karmas which put you into debt, which give you more pressure. And when it's the end of the cycle, which is now, he comes, which he has, and you cannot go to the soul world while you still have karmic debts. And you have to go to the soul world, whether you like it or not, and there's very little time. So you have three possibilities. Either you finish off all your karma through yoga, which we're trying to do, yes? Because that's the least hard, even though it's very hard. And then the other way is you could finish everything by illnesses. So you could have, all kinds of general misery in illness, physical difficulties. And you can also have circumstantial hardship. You can have mental illness. You can have, lose some limbs. You could have financial hardship. You could have character assassination. You could have poverty. Lots and lots of ways of being miserable. And if that doesn't work, and you still have some karmic accounts left, and you leave your body and it's the last time, then you have to face the outstanding music. And I think that one thing that Baba has said is, you're a BK, you know everything, still you go against everything. So you will have to face the music because Baba will show his strict form at that time. And there are scriptures called the Puran, the Garud Puran in particular, which shows you the 28 different kinds of punishment that you can get for all the 28 different main categories of sin that you might like to do. And you can find about that on the internet. It will tell you very clearly with pictures. Anyway, So, for example, Baba sometimes talks about Kumbi Pak Narak, right, in the Murli, and which is usually translated as the extreme depths of hell, but it's a very specific kind of hell. And the corresponding thing is Dante's Inferno, so all the different types of hell that you get there. Now, Kumbi Pak Narak, especially for people who exploit other people. And they will spend millions of years in a pit of snakes, getting bitten by the snakes and generally freaked out. So all these stories are there in the scriptures, which are specially told to people to make them afraid to do sin, to avoid this kind of punishments. But anyway, so this is what he's talking about. Could you please elaborate on this part of the Murli? Even if some do not go to the land of happiness, I will definitely take them to the land of peace. Yes. We come to Baba, we come in Gyan. He says you have 84 births and you will go through Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, Iron Age, which means that you have to do the suitable work to get yourself into the Golden Age and Silver Age, have a high status and all that. But you may not be a Golden Age soul or a Silver Age soul. You may be a soul who belongs to another religion. And so you may come to Baba to get some knowledge, something, but then you will go to the soul world and you will stay there until such time as you come down again. So this is what he means, that everyone will go to the soul world, with or without punishment, etc., etc. And for us, he wants us to do all this other work to arrive in the Golden Age. The other day you mentioned about reciprocity. Won't atheists get any help from Baba? This word atheist is interesting because you can understand it in a number of ways. In Hindi, they use the word Nastik, and the opposite of Nastik is Astik. And Astik is part of the word swastika, and it means to know. So actually, Nastik means an agnostic, somebody who doesn't know. So an atheist is someone who has decided that based on the available information, there is no God. But since the available information is incorrect, if you give them correct information, they may or may not be an atheist. But every soul, regardless, is a child of God. And one of the purposes of giving Baba's message is to make it possible for that soul, whatever classification they give to themselves, to have an encounter with God. And once you've had an encounter, you've got a relationship. And then the question of atheism doesn't apply. But the question of reciprocity, I think we have to focus our attention on, here we are ourselves as Brahmins, and he wants us to have all relationships with him. And we have all this time being Brahmins to develop that, and we need to understand about his nature of being reciprocal. Most of the people, I suppose, will understand these things to some extent, and they won't have very much time. So there won't be enough time for them to get involved in all this, what we are doing, because we have so much time, you know. Okay, there's a question. Does suffering through difficult relationships settle karma or create more negative karma, since there is an intake of sorrow? Well, when you have a difficult relationship, there's definitely a karmic account. And the problem is you suffer, but you also react and you also do such karma to keep that cycle of misery continuing. And so he says, okay, you're in a situation where you have a karmic account with somebody and they will give you hell. And you have to use gyan in such a way that the karmic account is getting reduced, and be careful not to do such karma that intensifies it. And that's quite a trick, but study deeply, keep going, and you will actually gradually get free, but you need to use a lot of yoga so that you can handle the situation through the power of yoga, as opposed to reacting and creating more of a bondage. It's really like that. But he says definitely do not take sorrow. So if somebody's doing all sorts of nasties to you, say things to yourself like, it is happening, but it's not happening to me. And if the person is giving you physical hardship or whatever, you may decide to leave. And that may not be a bad idea, but then you have to not be attached, because what happens very often is people get attached to their abusers. They can't get away. They won't get away. So you have to really think about your situation and decide how you're going to proceed. Please explain the sentence, true Brahmins are those who uplift 21 generations. So you have this idea that there are 21 births of happiness. So first person you have to uplift is your own self. But also the people who you are connected with, so in your family. And it is also said for a Kumari uplifts 21 generations. So a Kumari means you're in a family. And if you can get all those people in that family, or some of them, to also do what they need to do to get 21 births in heaven, then you've uplifted them. And so this is one of these aphorisms that's there in India, and they know it's true, but they can't figure it out, and they don't know what it means. So Baba takes a lot of these incomprehensible beliefs and explains what it means, and one by one, and it comes fairly frequently in the Murli, this particular one. And it's also to give the Kumaris power to do what they could do, because the families do everything possible to disempower you. And once you're in BK, you have lots of opportunities and you have lots of things that try to disempower you and get you off the track, and so challenges, lots of. And Baba will give you stuff to handle your challenges with.
When I start saying that my karma is with the sanskaras, not with the person, it is just an instrument. It could be some other instrument, but your real challenge is with sanskara, not with the person.
Yeah. I think both. If you have a sanskara that puts you into karma with someone, and that sanskara will put you into karma with lots of people. So in that respect, your sanskara is the problem, because it will show up in all the different relationships. And that's a big part of it. But also, you have a specific karmic account with specific souls. And both of those things are going on. And how you got into karma with that specific soul is because of a sanskara. And so you have to work on the sanskara, and you also have to pay the debt with the person. So to me, it's both of them.
How to visualize subtle region? Do we really go to subtle region to talk to Baba?
Well, I don't think it's useful to visualize the subtle region. You have been given a number of descriptions of it, and so you can understand what it is. Sooner or later, you will be pulled into the subtle region. Sooner or later. At the end times, he said, as the beginning, so the end. So we can understand that it is likely that there will be a lot of experiences of the subtle region as circumstances get very, very difficult. But I think the important thing at this stage is for us to just understand that there is the subtle regions. Sometimes I think of it as the mind space, because he said from time to time that the subtle regions is powered by the mind. So it is all about thought. And some people think in pictures. Some people think in ideas. Some people think in feelings. So there's different ways that people think and their inner world. In many ways, I think the subtle regions corresponds to the inner world. You remember we were talking about how all of time is there in your soul, and that in the subtle regions is where you can experience another time when Baba uses his magic to send you there so that you can understand better what he's talking about. And there was a lot of subtle region experience in the beginning of BKs because Ajit Baba had a hard time communicating with these humans, because he's not a human. And he arrives on earth. He says, okay, you called me. I'm here. I'm invisible. And they cannot conceptualize invisible people. So, he has to give them experience of bright light to get their attention. Okay, bright light, what is this? And then Vishnu, and so these, and they would see, like you were talking earlier about what was going on called augmented reality. I think that was quite a good analogy for what people would see. They would see Brahma Baba's form as Krishna. So it's like the Krishna would be superimposed on Brahma, and they would experience it like that. But mostly the subtle regions, as they go off in trance and they go into a different place, similar to where you go in a dream. And so the world of dreams and the world of the subtle region are very similar to each other in that it's the same dimension, really. And in dreams and in the subtle regions, you can see things which represent something invisible that's going on to make it visible to you, because it's using symbols. And symbols are a very good way to communicate something invisible. For example, recently I had a dream about being in a room which is completely clearly rectangular. And I asked someone who knows about these dream symbols what this is. And they said, this refers to the whole world, the four corners, the four directions. And so your dream is about all four directions, your influence in all four directions. So there are people who know the symbols. And in religion, there's a lot of symbolic representation, and all the different, like, Ganesh is not someone who you can meet, not like Lakshmi and Narayan as actual human being, but Ganesh you couldn't meet because there's an elephant head. And there's no people like that, or the goddesses with 10 arms or whatever. But it's symbolic. And so when you see these images, which are symbolic, then you understand something that is conceptual. And so people who are unable to conceptualize, they're able to see the symbols and then say this symbol means such and such. But if they would be told about the concept without a symbol, they can't deal with it. And nowadays, people are quite capable of conceptualizing, but the very simple devotional people, they are completely unable to conceptualize something that is not having a physical representation. That's just the way they're wired. Okay, on creating karma with God, does he settle all his karmic account with his children in the confluence age itself? He doesn't have any karmic account. But you, as a devotee, have been interacting with God as a devotee. And if you have been against God, you come into debt with him. And so you have to settle your account with God. But he doesn't have any account with his children. But you have account with him. And then in BK, you come in BK, and then you start, like he said today, you don't like the Murli. That means you don't like God. That means you don't like heaven. That means you're blocking yourself. Because it doesn't make any difference to him, but it definitely makes a big difference to you. Okay, there's another one. I remember Daddy Janki saying, subtle word, paramdam, everything is inside you. Absolutely. Maybe it's a high experience. Yes, it exists. Does she mean by this as your own personal experience? Well, of course it is in you, but it's all about perception. And the way your mind functions, because you are under the influence of sense perception, is you are assuming all these things that are in you are outside you. And what he's saying is it's inside. And that's how come you can understand this an identical repetition. But it's very, very subtle to understand that whatever seems to be outside is inside, and that how you interpret what you perceive, which is coming from the outside into your sense perception, which is real. And then once you've taken it in, you have options, but because you don't know about it, you can't exercise your options. And because you don't have enough power, you can't exercise your options. So he wants us to have the knowledge and the power to be able to function as master and not a victim of perception. It's very deep stuff, very deep stuff. So, plenty to think about. Om Shanti.